Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild, and welcome back to another Once in a Wild Wednesday, where we try to go live each and every singles week on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, because we are here in Texas. And it's nice to be back. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are only talking about one animal, but it is pretty cool, and she's right here right now, already out with us. Her name is Ghost, and we'll talk all about her species and about her as an individual and whatever else you guys want to know about. Please feel free to Axolotl questions tonight. And without further ado, I think we go ahead and get started, you guys. All right, once again, welcome back to another Once in a Wild Wednesday, where each and every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we do our best to go live across social media. We try to be everywhere. We're going live everywhere on all of our social media except for TikTok tonight, and we'd like to see you over on Instagram if you can't join us on our other social medias, and we try to be there for everybody, no matter what type of social you prefer the best. Don't forget to follow us over on Instagram and the rest of social media. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram too. We've got LinkedIn, we've got YouTube, we've got Twitch and Twitter. So we try to be everywhere, and make sure and go and follow or subscribe to our channels. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun live streams that we do each and every week. We've also got a lot of live streams from the past. So if you guys want to watch last week's or the week before or so on and so forth, we have a lot of them on our YouTube, is where we actually need the most help with views, and Twitch too. But if you go to YouTube, please subscribe. We are looking for more subscribers right now. We're doing pretty good on Instagram and very good on Facebook, but the rest of the social media, we need more followers and subscribers. So please help us out. That is a great free way to help out any small business. So if you want to help us out for free, follow our social media, like the videos, like the pictures that you see over there, comment on the pictures, on the videos, say something nice, share them with your family and friends who love animals too, and tell everybody about us that you know that would enjoy animal programming or in-person animal programs. A little about us: we are actually a mobile zoo based in South Texas. We are in San Antonio, Texas, so we can service San Antonio and surrounding cities and bring animals to classrooms, birthday parties, nursing home visits, anything at all. We can bring our animals out to your location, which is pretty cool. We can also offer virtual presentations to those of you that happen to be outside of our circle of the world, and or those of you that would prefer to stay virtual. That's totally fine. We can bring a virtual experience to you through Zoom, of course, and you actually get to pick the animals that join your Zoom. We start with 5 animals, and you can build up from there if you want to. And that usually takes about an hour in those Zooms. Those are great for virtual classrooms, for colleges, anything at all, really. Very educational, or we can keep it a little more casual. If you prefer to just hang out with our animals, we can do that too. And the same goes for our in-person animal encounters. We can keep them more casual, or we can keep them a little more educational, or a little bit of both, kind of mix and match. We offer petting zoo services, photo opportunities, meet and greets, formal presentations, of course, as well as virtual presentations, as well as animal therapy. So we have a lot of things to choose from. Check out our website, onceinawild.com, if you would like to contact us, and our number is down below on most of our social media as well tonight. And our number is also over there on the bio description on Instagram too. So please let us know if you happen to be interested in supporting us by booking your own animal encounter at some point in the near future. As soon as you think you would like to book, please let me know, because we do book pretty fast, especially weekends. Weekends, of course, are the most popular, and throughout the week are the most popular with schools. Now, did you guys catch us on the news, the local news today? In San Antonio at 1 o'clock. We were actually on SA Live, which is kind of in the downtown San Antonio area. We were on the news, and we did 2 segments with our friends over at SA Live, Fiona and Jen. Today we had some of our animals on the show, and tonight we're talking about just one animal. We thought we would keep it simple tonight and actually just do a species-specific class for you guys. And that is also something we offer too for classrooms. If you guys want to learn about one animal in your class, we can bring kind of like a keynote presentation about one species to your classroom. And of course, we bring the live animals too, and we can kind of go through just that species if you want to too. Most of our presentations start with 3, 5, or 8 animals. And that is typically a 45-minute to an hour, 1 hour to a little bit over an hour, or hour and a half presentation-wise for schools. And some schools have little ones, so we understand a presentation may not work for little ones. So we offer things like meet and greets and petting zoos for smaller kiddos or older kiddos too. They can all enjoy the petting zoo. The petting zoo and the meet and greet and animal therapy really don't have age limits, but the presentations, we usually recommend that it be 6 and up. And kind of a smaller group gets a better presentation, but just let us know what you're interested in and we can help you out. So please let us know if you happen to have any questions or comments for us. Sam is excited for Axolotl. Sam is over on YouTube. Hi, Sam. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we're learning all about axolotls today. And we have everybody's favorite axolotl, who is Ghost, right here on the table with me. Ghost the axolotl. Sorry, I was covering Ghost with your comment. There she is. And she's going to be our one and only animal tonight. Ghost is actually a golden albino axolotl. Axolotls in human care or captivity actually come in many different colors, just like other animals that are seen in the pet trade and things like that. And she happens to be a golden albino. She's got golden colored eyes. Sometimes she's a little more gold. Sometimes she's a little more pink or white. These guys do change their color based on their kind of activity and whatnot. They also change the color of their gills based on how much they're breathing and their activity as well. The gills are those red things on the side of their head that help them breathe in the water. You'll notice she's not coming up to breathe air at all. She's going to stay in the water and breathe the oxygen in the water. So she still breathes air technically, but only underwater, not by breathing the air like we do, or like a reptile would, or an amphibian sometimes. Now she is an amphibian, so amphibians sometimes breathe with gills, sometimes breathe with lungs, and sometimes breathe with their skin. So they're a little weird. And feel free to axolotl questions tonight, you guys. We are definitely keeping it the same as always, which is interactive. We want to make sure that you guys get to ask all your questions, or axolotl questions. That's a really fun thing. And make sure you let me know what you would like to know about them. Oh, someone's watching from Illinois. Hello, Michelle. She says, hi, my 6-year-old and I are watching from Belvedere, Illinois. Did I say it right? Belvedere. Belvedere? It's probably Belvedere, isn't it? Sorry, I embarrassed myself. Hello, Michelle. Yes, we're saying hello from our other account. Who else is watching on YouTube? Shout out to YouTube subscribers. Thank you so very much. Here's a great question to kind of prompt our first question about the axolotls tonight. Yes, they can only live in water. Sam is asking, can they only live in water? Yes, they can only live in water. So axolotls are a little bit strange. So they are amphibians, and like all amphibians, they come from eggs that are laid by their mother in the water. So an axolotl mother can have anywhere from 200 to 1,000 or more eggs, maybe even 2,000 sometimes, depending on her fertility. But it's usually 200 to 1,000, and they will lay them underwater, and then dad will fertilize the eggs if he's around in the water as well, right? And but if they are fertilized, they will hatch. If they are not fertilized, they won't hatch. But they are all laid from eggs, and that's every amphibian. Every amphibian actually comes from an egg underwater. In fact, now I can't remember if it's external fertilization or internal fertilization. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm not a breeder of axolotls, but I do know they come from eggs, and it takes a male and a female to get them fertilized and to be actually reproducing. But they all come from eggs, the jelly-like substance that the eggs are kind of made out of, and they will actually go through a metamorphosis, just like any other amphibian. So say a frog. A frog is an amphibian, most people know. So frogs are laid from eggs. They're born from eggs. They hatch out and they become a tadpole. They come into the water and swim around, right? And they, at that stage in their life, they're breathing water just like Ghost is here. So they start their life that way underwater. And then eventually they're going to start to lose their gills. See how she has gills? They'll start losing them. They'll start growing legs, of course. They'll lose their tail and they'll turn into a frog. Well, the axolotl doesn't do that. They actually will metamorphosize up until a point, but they stay in what we call a neotenic state, which means they're just big babies, essentially. So they kind of stay like big teenagers their whole life. They don't really metamorphosize into a land animal at all. So an axolotl has to have water to survive. And their water is cold. It's actually very chilly in the wild, and they prefer it chilly even in human care too. And they live in fresh water. There's no amphibian, to my knowledge, that lives in very salty water. They're going to have fresh water just like most amphibians, right? They're going to live in fresh, cool water, and they're only found in Mexico. They're found in the Xochimilco River Canal, which is just south of Mexico City. So they're in the Mexico City area, and they only are found there. But they're found in fresh water, and they go through some sort of somewhat of a metamorphosis, but they just don't metamorphosize into a land animal. So they stay in the water all the time, their whole life. Now, an axolotl can do an emergency metamorphosis if their water becomes very hot or toxic. They can actually turn into a salamander, but they don't last very long after that. It's only a month or so that they will actually live as a land animal, but that's only a super rare survival tactic. It almost never happens. So I'm going to say no. They don't really survive at all out of the water. They breathe the water, and they're an aquatic animal. That's a great question. Here's a good question. Leslie is asking or saying, my son Lucas wants to know, why are axolotls different colors? That's a great question. Now, not all axolotls are like the ones in Minecraft where there's like a bunch of different colors, right? Axolotls come in a few different colors in human care. It's all through selective breeding. It is not something that happens generally in the wild. So in the wild, Ghost would not look like this. So if she happened to be a wild axolotl born in the wild, she would probably not have the genetics that she has. So she would be a dark colored, brownish black animal with little spots. And we actually do have another axolotl. His name is Gremlin. And Gremlin is the wild type axolotl who has the dark coloring and spots. And that's going to be, of course, for camouflage. So in human care, though, we've been able to kind of like selectively breed different genetics and things. And I'm not an expert in this, but I do know that there's many different colors of captive bred axolotls, including golden albino, which is like Ghost. So there are regular albinos, there's golden albino, I think there's other albinos too. And the most popular, like in like art and cartoons and things like that on social media and things, or t-shirts, you're going to see leucistic axolotl. So that is actually kind of like Ghost, but with black eyes. So leucistic means they have less or almost no coloring, but dark eyes instead of light colored eyes. So albinos have either golden or red eyes or pink eyes, right? And leucistics have dark, almost black eyes. So that is the main difference. But it's just through selective breeding. Just like over time, the more animals we have in human care, the more we can actually pick and choose the parents' genetics and put them together and hope that we get cool colors. Just like with dogs and cats and chickens and horses and all kinds of animals that are pets. Those guys can be selectively bred for their coloration, right? Great question. I'm going to keep scrolling through these questions on our general social media, and then I'll look over at Instagram. Hello, Viviana. I see you over there. You're off in the distance because my device is way far away from me, but I do see you. And you say you see the axolotl. We're also on the rest of social media tonight, too. It looks like everything's going well tonight. No glitches today, which is great. And it is Ghost. You are correct. Let me see whatever everybody else has to say. Hi, Jessica. Thank you for being here. What is her name? This is Ghost. She is a female golden albino axolotl, and Ghost is around 7 years old now, I think. 6 or 7. We've had her for a while. I've had her since she was a little baby. Thank you for your question, Lucas. Are they related to the Hellbender? Travis wants to know. Yes, they're actually a salamander. So the Hellbender is another type of salamander. So when we talk about amphibians, right, we're talking about frogs, newts, salamanders, toads, all kinds of things. Axolotls, of course. And axolotls are in the salamander group. So a hellbender is a larger type of salamander that also lives in the water, and they're aquatic as well. So some salamanders, not just the axolotls, are fully aquatic, just like Ghost. Another one that's here in Texas is going to be the Texas blind salamander, and they really don't see. They live in like caves underground where there's like still water, but it's like under where there's no light, right? So the Texas blind salamander has basically evolved to have no seeing eyes anymore. So they have like little dots, but they don't really see anything. They use their sense of smell and touch to get around. These guys have eyes, but an axolotl's eyes are not their best sense. Their best sense is going to be smell and touch. So those two pretty much in a tie. They can feel the movement of the water for sure, to feel for prey. They can eat things like aquatic animals living underwater, or they can eat little bugs that end up kind of landing on the surface of the water too. You can see how I got her attention just there. Now she does see, she 100% can see, but most amphibians, once they turn into a land animal after they've gone through their metamorphosis, they have really good vision. Like a frog, for example, has amazing eyesight, whereas axolotls, their eyes are pretty limited. And also axolotls don't blink. They actually have no eyelids like a fish, as opposed to an amphibian. Isn't that cool? Oh, here's a great question from Sam on YouTube. Who does more work, mom or dad, axolotl? Neither. Neither of them do very much work. I guess mom, because she has to carry the eggs for a little while. I'm pretty sure, now that I think about it, they actually do have internal fertilization, but it's not in the traditional mating. So I think that mom will actually pick up a sperm packet from dad, but some amphibians actually do fertilize like externally into the water, as you may know. So whether that's the case, both of them, not really a big task for a parent. They do not take care of their animals at all. That makes sense. So mom will lay whole bunch of eggs and then leave. They're not going to have anything to do with their young. In fact, these guys will actually eat their young if they get the opportunity. That's right, you're a cannibal, aren't you? And axolotls of the same size sometimes get along in the same space. In human care, it's very risky to keep them together, in my opinion, because you can get a hungry axolotl that may want to eat the other one's gills or feet or tail tips, things like that. And certainly if you have a smaller sized axolotl and a larger axolotl nearby, they will try to eat them. And their food in the wild is very, very scarce right now. And they're a critically endangered species. So any opportunity to eat, they will go ahead and do it. So they're not good parents at all, to say the least, right? You can probably imagine. So they lay the eggs. Fertilization happens somehow, right? And both parents have nothing to do with their baby. So they really don't do any work except for to, have that birth, right? So I guess mom. You don't have too many questions. Please keep asking your questions. I love the question. I talk about animals all the time, and sometimes I run out of things to say. I'll keep talking forever and ever and ever, but it helps me to know what you want to know, specifically in this video, right? So during this live stream, I might just ramble on and on and on about axolotls, but I want to know what you want to know, and I want to interact with you guys. So please don't apologize. So excited that you're here to learn. Do they swim or walk underwater, Sam? Good question. Do they swim or walk underwater? They can do either one. So as you can see, she does have little arms and legs. She can choose to kind of stroll on the kind of bottom of the riverbed where they live, or her tank right now, right? Which, by the way, this is not where she lives. This is just for display for tonight. I hope you guys know that. She lives in a much bigger space behind the scene, if you will. But they can choose to kind of stroll along, and if they really want to get going fast, they're going to use their big powerful tail to propel them through the water. So they can do either. They can walk around, kind of stroll, or they can really swim fast if they want to. Now, please don't get me wrong, they're not the fastest water creature on earth, not even close. They're on speed, but they don't really have to be speedy as an animal. Maybe to get away from things, bigger animals that want to eat them, that would definitely be a good reason to swim fast in order to hunt as well. But they're not really going to be like an active hunter most of the time. They're mostly going to be an ambush predator. So remember, in the wild, they're going to be that dark coloration with the spots. That's going to hide them very, very nicely. In the wild where they live in Xochimilco, it's very murky. It almost looks like a swamp. No offense to the area, but that's just what it looks like. It's not crystal clear water like this. This is obviously for display purposes. In the wild, they're going to hide in the murky shadows where they live. And they're not really a nocturnal animal or a diurnal or daytime animal. They're just active whenever they want to be. So they're just kind of both. But they'll pretty much stay inactive until it's time for them to eat or get around a little bit, maybe explore. They're really just going to hang out and hide most of their life to stay safe from enemies, and also to hide from their food and kind of pop out of nowhere and surprise them. And when they eat, they don't have any teeth. They just have like a ridge to kind of crush up their kind of like a hard palate on their mouth to crush up worms and bugs and things. They eat fish, whatever. They're carnivores. They eat all kinds of stuff. Fun fact about amphibians, though, when they're tadpoles, they can eat both plants and meat. So they are omnivores as babies, and when they metamorphosize a little bit older for the axolotl, or all the way for a frog, they're going to turn into a carnivore. So this is a carnivore, and they will eat all kinds of stuff. So they'll kind of just crunch it up in their mouth, but they don't really have any teeth. But what they do to catch their food is they kind of hang on and wait, and then here's a little bug. They'll kind of go up to the surface, or maybe there's something right in front of them. They'll just kind of slurp in the food, kind of suction in the food, and kind of chomp it up. Would you like to see her eat? I bet you would. I brought her some worm treats. So axolotls in human care can get all sorts of different types of carnivorous food items. We feed most of the diet that our 2 axolotls actually get is going to be like a carnivore pellet, which is designed for carnivorous fish and amphibians and things like that. So that's going to be their base diet, but they also get worms and crickets and all kinds of things. So I brought her some super worms today. Oops, not super worms, mealworms is what I meant to say. Mealworms. So she's going to get some mealworm treats, her favorite treat in the world. She can get super worms too. Here you go, Ghost. Would you like one? Oh, yes. She says, thank you very much. I would like the treat. So the scientific name for the axolotl is Ambystoma mexicanum. So ambystoma basically means that they're gluttons. They like to eat stuff. So mexicanum means they're from Mexico. They originate in Mexico. So essentially their scientific name, Ambystoma mexicanum, essentially just means Mexican glutton. So they're not picky about what they eat usually, although they are just carnivores. But they love to eat. Or those real or fake plants. They're fake plants. Not that you can't keep real plants in with axolotls, but for tonight's purposes for display, these are plastic plants. But they're pretty, aren't they? They look real, I think. One fun little kind of pro tip for your reptiles, amphibians, if you have fish, whatever, you can actually get a lot of fake plants over at Michael's and other craft stores rather than buying them at the pet store. It's okay to buy them at the pet store too, but you're going to get a huge, massive price difference on buying them in bulk, if you will. At the craft store, you can get like a whole like string of a bunch of plants. That's kind of a pro tip from me to you on decorating your if you have fish tanks or amphibians, or if you have reptiles or anything at all you want to use some fake plants for. Maybe it's just a craft coming up for Halloween or for the fall time. You can actually get a lot of that at Michael's or any craft store in your area. Michael's is where I get all of my fake plants for my animals. Most of them anyway. Yeah. That's a good question. Your little emojis are making me laugh. Oh, here's a good question. Hi, over from Facebook. I don't know whether or not to call you Neil or Pro Neil, but I guess I'll just call you Pro Neil. Pro Neil says, which animals get along with each other that you have? So most of our kind of cold-blooded creatures are ectotherms, if you will. Ectothermic means they are cold-blooded or they don't have their own body temperature. Most ectotherms in nature and in human care don't get along very well with others. So, for example, snakes. Most snakes do like to be kind of separated from other snakes or other animals in general. And of course, they're carnivores, so they don't get along with other animals that they eat too. So snakes tend to be solitary, although there are some exceptions. We don't have these guys, but like garter snakes and rattlesnakes actually are pretty social. Axolotls are pretty solitary, so we keep them separate. We only have 2. And Gremlin's actually kind of a beast when it comes to eating, so I think he would try to eat things, if you know what I mean, if we kept them together. So we're not going to do that. Also, they're boy and girl, and we don't want to be breeding because they can have up to 1,000 babies at once. And we certainly don't have the amount of space, and I don't have the knowledge to be able to breed them. I'm fairly new to keeping axolotls, to be honest with you. Knowledge-wise, I've been learning about them for a long time, but I haven't kept them much longer than keeping ghosts. That's just the truth. What else? Oh, our tortoises are social. We have red-footed tortoises. Those guys hang out together a lot. Our 2 baby red-footed tortoises actually do come indoors for overnight. And our older tortoises live outside because they're big enough to be able to kind of defend themselves a little bit better and things. But our babies are like tiny. They're like 2 years old. But the red-footed tortoises get along with each other. We do have a rabbit. He's our only rabbit right now. But we do hopefully want to plan to get a second rabbit soon for companionship. But he also has other animals that he does hang out with, like birds and guinea pigs. The guinea pigs are very social too. We have 4 guinea pigs that live together as well. And our bunny is also super socialized with humans, so he gets a ton of attention. Don't worry about Sandor. But we'd love to have a second rabbit for companionship for him, and also as a second rabbit for animal outreach, right? For educating you guys about animals. Sandor can't do every program, although he would like to. He goes a lot of places, but a second rabbit would be great. So we would love to have another one soon. Who else? Ducks. Our ducks definitely needs to be together. Ducks really don't like being alone. We've got wood ducks and we've got Pekin ducks. And we've got 2 of each actually. And they live together. That was really cute, Ghost. I don't know what she was doing, eating an air bubble. I don't know. Sometimes the axolotls are super silly. Ghost has an extra silly personality. She's my absolute favorite out of the 2. Don't tell Gremlin, but I don't think he cares either. But she is super goofy, a lot of personality. She's everybody's favorite. That's a good question. What are some of our other social animals? I feel like I'm forgetting them. Oh, cockatiels and our doves. So some are social and some are not. It just kind of depends. Ferrets, we have 2 ferrets that live together as well. Ferrets in general can be social or solitary as a pet or as a domestic, I should say. Ferrets in the wild are a little less social than ferrets in human care, but they're separate species now. Good question. How long can axolotls be out of the water? Not very long. These guys would not make it much longer than, I would say, 10 minutes. I don't know. I'm not going to try it. Most amphibians and fish, for that matter, can actually survive longer than you think as long as they stay wet. So I would imagine she could probably make it after a little bit. I'm not going to do that to her. That would be pretty torturous for her to go through that. These guys are fully aquatic animals. They have super duper slimy skin, and their skin is always moisturized all the time. And most amphibians also partially breathe with their skin, so that helps them to actually what do you call it, kind of filter oxygen through their actual skin. So drying out is not good for them, especially an aquatic amphibian like this. Most frogs and toads and salamanders can go in and out of the water and be just fine. Oh my goodness, but no, we're definitely not going to try that. Yeah, so they're always going to be having that slime coat on their body, like some fish do too. But that helps them to stay like healthy and everything too. And another kind of downside of a slime coat on your body is you absorb everything you touch pretty much. So if they experience toxins or any sort of pollution in their waters, then they actually absorb those pollutions too. So amphibians in general are super important to the natural environment, especially the aquatic environments. And that's because they are indicator species. They let us know that something is wrong first. So they're going to be some of the first to experience bad things. It could be bad fungi, whatever that word is, a fungus that can affect them. There's several fungus that actually, fungi that affect amphibians and can make them very sick. It can be things like pollution, of course, or even climate change, temperature change, yada, yada, yada. So these guys are going to experience some of the first negative effects of all those changes in the natural environment. So we can take a look at amphibians across the globe, see how they're doing in general, which to be honest is not great right now, and kind of see the health of the planet. Same thing goes for like ocean animals too, but amphibians in particular are super sensitive because they have sensitive skin and sensitive systems. How many animals do we have? Great question. I don't know. So just kidding. We actually have around 100 animals. It's a roundabout number. And the reason I say around is because we have Madagascar hissing cockroaches, which constantly have babies for us, which is a good thing. That means that they're doing well and wanting to have more in the colony. They're another social animal. I forgot about the roaches. Madagascar hissing cockroaches have to be together to be happy and healthy. They're colony animals, so they do that. But Madagascar hissing cockroaches are the one and only insect that we have besides our feeder insects right now. We'd love to get some more in the future. Who knows? Maybe we'll have some other insect colonies. But Madagascar hissing cockroaches live a lot longer than most insects do, which is why you see them a lot in animal education or outreach companies, things like that. So yes, they're constantly having babies. I don't know how many babies they have currently right now. So around 100 is how many animals we have. That does include our roaches. That does include all of our reptiles, all of our amphibians. We have quite a few of those. We have more variety in our reptile and amphibian and invertebrate, which like our spiders and scorpions and roaches, kind of grouping than all the rest of our animals. So we do have mammals, we've got birds, but we also have reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates. And the reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates, we've got a lot of those guys because they're easier to house and we can easily take care of them. They're a lot easier than mammals and birds in general. Not every single one is easy, but in general, it's easier to keep those guys. So we do have quite a few of those. So around 100 animals in our collection. That is a great question. Let me see what else you guys want to. Am I in a dark room? A little bit. So I've got the light. So let me explain to you. Well, I'm in a studio, but the studio is basically our, it's kind of a storage room too sometimes. It's a studio that we film everything in. When we have animals in aquatic setups or behind glass, it's a little bit harder to light because if I shine the light directly on me, I'm kind of like shooting up and above me right now. And I have a ring light right here in front of me. If I look right here, there it is, kind of over there. But if I shine it right here on this enclosure, you will see all the reflections of the light. So I have to do it a little bit more strategically. So when we have axolotl presentations, it's a little bit more challenging, but we make it work. I think it looks pretty good. Over on Instagram, we're lit up pretty well because it's a different camera. It's a mobile device rather than a camera. I'm using my camera for all the other social media. It's not really a dark room. It's just a studio where I've got special lighting on me right now. Got studio lighting, photography lighting on me. Good question. How long do they live for? Great question. So, Winter the Chihuahua, you're adorable, Winter. Fun fact, my last name is Winter. maybe we're related, Winter. So my first name is Amanda, my last name is Winter. Winter is our family name. So how long do they live? An axolotl in human care can make it to about their late 20s, maybe even 30 years. But an axolotl in the wild, not the case. They're usually not going to make it as long because they're dealing with all sorts of bad things in their natural habitat right now. So axolotls are actually a critically endangered species, which is one step above extinct in the wild. And then the next step is extinct altogether. So axolotls really probably won't go extinct altogether because guess what? We have them in zoos, aquariums, as pets in captivity in general. So they're doing very well in human care. They breed great. They have lots of babies, lots of insurance, right? To keep them at least around in some capacity. But in the wild, they're critically endangered. They're not doing well. And that's all because of human influence, unfortunately, and climate change, which is also influenced partially by humans too, let's face it. So warmer temperatures affects them because they like cold water. So rising up, not good for them. They won't breed as much. They won't thrive as well, won't eat as well, things like that. Pollution in their water, big obvious issue for lots of aquatic animals, especially river and ocean animals, right? Anywhere where there's humans nearby, we're going to have trash, we're going to have pollution, things like that. These guys live in Xochimilco, Mexico, which is just south of one of the largest cities in the entire world and most populated cities in the entire world, Mexico City. So there's, of course, a ton of human influence that way. No offense to Mexico City, I absolutely love it there. But there is, of course, going to be trash and things like that. And in the water, invasive species is another issue that they're facing in the wild. So things like carp and tilapia, large fish that can eat them, which are brought there by humans. Would you like another worm, Ghost? Here's a worm. And also they do have natural predators as well. There you go, girl. They have natural predators that eat them. If they get sick, there's no vet to take care of them in the wild, of course. And lots of factors do kind of affect their life expectancy in the wild. But in human care, they can make it to their late 20s, even early 30s. I should certainly hope she lives a long time. She's only around 6 or 7 years old now and still pretty young. And we love her. We don't want her to go anywhere. But generally, they do better in human care than in the wild because their area especially is very limited. They're only found in the Xochimilco River canals. So that's super tiny space to live, in comparison to the rest of the world, right? They're not found anywhere else on the planet, and their one habitat is not doing well. So they, unfortunately, are not doing great in the wild. So they live far less. They can also get eaten by stuff or become sick and things like that. So yeah. Good question. Can you pick up an axolotl? You shouldn't. You can physically pick them up. They're real slimy. They're not pleasant to pick up at all. We don't really handle them at all. We use some sort of container to scoop them up and transfer them from A to B. This is not her regular enclosure. This is a display only. So she will be transferred by have like a little pitcher that I scoop her up and put her into a display. She can travel to different events and be on display at your birthday or your classroom presentation, things like that. They're not hard to travel with. You just have to travel in a container with water, but not good to hold. And I'll tell you why. So amphibians in general, especially aquatic ones, they have to breathe water. So you shouldn't be like picking them up anyway. It's like picking up a fish. It's super unpleasant for them. They don't like it. They will be very upset. Yes, won't they? Come closer, come hither. The people on Instagram want to see you. Anyway, I'm just kind of like sulking back there. But they will actually absorb whatever's on your hands. So if you have touched your hair and you're like me and you use hairspray and curl cream on your hair or anything at all, pomade, whatever. If you have perfume on you and you touched your perfume and put it on your hand, if you have hand sanitizer on your hand, or if you have lotion, or even just the oil that naturally comes from being a human on your hands, and you touch an amphibian, it could be a frog, a toad, a salamander, newt, anything at all. You touch those guys with your bare hands, you're giving them all the things on your hands, and they're absorbing it into their skin. Now, a little bit is not going to kill them. Even a lot may not kill them, but it's going to make them sick. It's going to make them feel icky. They're not going to feel good. It can kill them if it's like something super toxic on their skin because they absorb it right into their body. So it's really a bad idea to handle amphibians really at all. People that survey and study amphibians in the wild when they're catching them up and things like that, nowadays they're wearing rubber gloves to actually handle amphibians. But we don't recommend that you guys do that unless you're a professional or a student learning herpetology or something, obviously, that makes sense to handle them. Maybe you're a herper out there on the field. That is okay. I'm not going to tell you guys how to do that. But if you're a general person and you see like a toad or a frog, unless you're rescuing them from something, maybe you're rescuing them out of the drain of your pool. I've seen a lot of that, or out of the road. Please help them. Just be make sure and rinse your hands before holding them and things like that. But in general, we shouldn't be picking up or handling amphibians at all. Another thing you can actually do that harms them is, for example, a toad. A toad is a great example of this. You pick them up, they're going to pee on you because that's their defense. So toads and frogs will often pee on their predators too as a defense. And the predator goes, that was gross. And they will drop them and then they can get away, right? But if you do that, if you pick up a toad and it pees on you and you go, gross, and drop them, first of all, they can hurt themselves being dropped, but also, or you can hurt them, I guess. But also they've run out of that weapon. So if right after you drop them and they haven't had a chance to build up any more urine, they will lose that weapon, and then another predator might pick them up, and then they have no defense. Most frogs and toads don't have much of any teeth or teeth at all. Some frogs have little ridges in their mouth, but they don't have any teeth. There's a few frogs that do have big teeth, but most don't. And so there's really no defense at all, except for to get away or pee. So if you take away some of their weapon, then they are going to lose that weapon for the next time they get picked up by a predator. So we don't recommend it. Now, some amphibians too, I forgot another defense that they have is going to be toxic. Some amphibians are toxic to you. So we want to make sure you guys don't get sick as well. And all amphibians, whether toxic or not, can carry something called salmonella. So we don't want to be getting salmonella like from handling raw chicken. That's the same disease, right? Gross. It's like a bacteria. But these guys can carry that too. So if you touch a toad or frog and then forget to wash your hands, please wash your hands. Don't pick them up. Don't kiss it. Nothing like that. It won't turn into a friend, I promise. You can get salmonella as well. So it's not a great idea. Good question. Are black and white axolotls much about the rarity of different morphs or colors of axolotls? I am not a breeder or an expert on them in the pet trade at all. I just know their natural history, and I know what I know from having ghosts and Grim. What's my favorite color? I have so many favorite colors. I don't really have a favorite color, but if you mean of axolotl, it's golden albino. I like purple. That's what you were asking. I also like green and jewel tones as well. I like all kinds of colors. We're a very colorful brand at Once in a Wild, aren't we? We're kind of rainbow colored. But for axolotls, I like the golden albino is the best, like ghost. Favorite color of axolotl? Okay, somebody else asked the same question. She's so cute. Thank you for the compliment. We take all the compliments you would like to give. You guys are, I'm really appreciating so many comments and questions tonight. Would human touch harm an axolotl? Yes, Neil. I think I just answered that for you. Can axolotls live in tap water? Excellent question, Sam. They can, as long as it's dechlorinated. So you can get the dechlorinating drops, just like you do for fish. You can also use fridge water or bottled water too. And they do require a filter, but only for cleanliness. So for their care, they're super easy to care for, honestly. They're really not hard. It's still a water animal, so there's some water maintenance involved. But they don't really need a filter for oxygenating their water. They need a filter to keep them clean because they tend to be a little bit messy sometimes, just like any aquatic animal. I think she wants another bite, you guys, another treat. I think we'll give her one. She's being so good. She's always good. She's the best axolotl ever. Let's come on all the way up to the top. Come on, Ghost. You can do the things. Eat the worm. Come on, I want to see you swim up to the top. Oh, I think she zoned out for a minute. Come on, Ghost. There it is. Come on. Ooh, that was so fast. She's so slow until she's not, and then she's really fast. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Isn't she cute? But yeah, you can definitely dechlorinate the water, and it'll be just fine. You just have to let it sit for a while, just like for keeping fish or other amphibians. Their water does have to be cooler. They like their water in like the 60s, but the 70s is okay too. Some people use chillers. We use fans on the axolotl water sometimes when it's hotter. It's actually been fine all summer. Sometimes we add ice to their water as well, and we use cold, like fridge drinking water for their water. That was a great question for their Their care and human care. Get away or pee. Yes, that's pretty much it. Unless you're a poisonous type of frog or poisonous amphibian. Most amphibians have a little bit of toxicity or more to their skin. That way they at least taste bad. There's a lot of amphibians that taste bad, but there's some amphibians that if you consume or touch, they can actually really harm you, like poison dart frogs, right? Do they bite? Great question from Philip. Not really. Axolotls are pretty harmless to humans. They bite their food, as you see. Her eating every time I feed her tonight. They certainly bite their food. Almost every animal species can bite. These guys don't really have any teeth to speak of whatsoever. They have like little hard palate to chew their food and crunch up their food when they need to. But no, they don't. It doesn't hurt at all if they bite you. I've been bitten on accident, just kind of cleaning her enclosure and things like that. Definitely didn't hurt at all. Just surprised me. Do I live in Mexico or did I bring an axolotl to Texas? So Ghost was born in Texas. We actually adopted her from a breeder a while back. And she was bred, I can't remember where in Texas, but we did adopt her in the Dallas area of Texas. So she's never been in the wild. So wild axolotls do not look like this. So some axolotls in human care, like we have Gremlin, they look just like their wild cousins. They have the dark brown and the spots and everything, just like the wild type axolotls. She is not a wild type axolotl. So if an albino axolotl is spontaneously born in the wild, they typically do not make it. And that's because they don't have any camouflage to hide. They will stand out and be seen by their predators when they're little, because of course they start very tiny. Their eggs are super small and the tadpoles of them are super tiny. And then eventually they start growing, and they get about this long. That's about how long she'll ever be. But especially as babies, they're super vulnerable to predators. And also, if your prey sees you sneaking up on them, they may not get a bite to eat either. So having that camouflage is good for hiding from enemies and hiding from their food, which they have to sneak up on. So she is not from the wild at all. That is extremely illegal, by the way. These guys are critically endangered. They're only found in one little teeny tiny place in Mexico. And they are highly protected, and rightly so, because there's almost none left in the wild. To give you an idea of how little axolotls are left in the wild, for a 20-year span of time, and this was not super recent, this was probably 10 years ago, so over a 20-year span of time, they did a study on axolotls and how fast their numbers were dropping because of all of their issues in the wild. So they went from 6,000 per square kilometer that they were studying to 35 per square kilometer. That is really rapid and really bad in 20 years time. So they're super protected and super endangered. So they definitely don't come from the wild. If you ever see an axolotl that's a pet or somebody has one, that is not going to be from the wild. That is extremely not a thing and also illegal. Good question. I really don't know the super rare colors of axolotls. I'm not an expert in their genetics or morphs. So I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you, Sam. What are those leaves in the tank? They're just decorations. They're plastic plants for decorations, just to make it pretty. They do seem to kind of enjoy different little changes in their habitat where you kind of maybe move their plants around, move their cave around. She has a little cave that she can hide in. She's not shy at all and doesn't feel like she needs to hide at all. But sometimes she goes through the cave. Sometimes she'll play with different enrichment in her enclosure. So it's enriching as well. And this, I believe this is enriching for her to be here and getting treats and seeing you guys and being on camera and things. She may not understand what she's doing, but they seem to enjoy it and she's still eating and doing well. If an animal that travels in a mobile zoo, like our zoo, we actually do travel with our animals all the time. If the animals enjoy themselves, they're going to be eating, they're going to be hanging out, they're going to be happy. If they're stressed or don't enjoy doing that, we're not going to force them to do that. Ghost doesn't really care at all. So she's a very good axolotl. You're really enjoying this? I'm so glad. She's slow and then fast, just like you, Kennedy. But no, I don't live in Mexico. I actually live in Texas. Texas is not very far from Mexico. I've been to Mexico many times. I was just there in the Cancun area not too long ago. Yes, we love Axolotl. My name is Amanda. So let me reintroduce myself for new people on the live stream. Thank you for being here. We do go live each and every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we're on Central Time because we're in Texas, in the United States, of course. And we go live every Wednesday, or in the case that we can't go live for some reason, we play a rerun of our past live streams. You'll get to see a live stream each and every Wednesday across our social media, everywhere but TikTok right now. We're working on hopefully doing more lives on TikTok, or maybe I get a second device like I do on Instagram to be on TikTok. We'll see. That is the goal. But we go live every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So my name is Amanda. Our company is Once in a Wild. This, of course, is Once in a Wild Wednesday, and that is when we go live. But we are a mobile zoo right here in Texas, and we have mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates. So we have tarantulas and scorpions and Madagascar hissing cockroaches. We have over 100 animals in our collection, and many of those actually do travel to do all sorts of animal programming. That could be a petting zoo, that could be an animal meet and greet or photo op, that could be an animal presentation, and animal therapy. So those are some of the services that we offer. Do you think you found a bug on the surface? Let's get you another bug. Let's get you a worm, Ghost. That was really cute. Come on up. Sometimes she'll go up to the surface to see if there's like a bug on the surface. Axolotls and amphibians in general, when they're aquatic especially, but also just living in the water here and there, if they're like a frog or something like that. Toads are more dry weather, by the way. So that's a big difference between a toad and a frog. Most toads aren't nearly as aquatic as frogs are. But whether they be any kind of amphibian, they eat a lot of bugs for us, and that makes them extremely important as well. Amphibians are indicator species. They are also insectivores. So they're going to eat a ton of bugs, including the larvae of mosquitoes and other harmful insects. So that's something that they sometimes will look for on the surface of the water, in case you were wondering. I'm going to get a little drink. Ghost is staying hydrated this entire time. I'm going to follow her lead and stay hydrated as well to stay healthy. Golden axolotls. Yes, Gaia Gamers. Are golden axolotls real? You're looking at one right here. Now, she is a golden axolotl in real life. I'm not sure if there's golden axolotls, say, in video games that look more gold, but this is a golden axolotl. If you saw it's a golden albino axolotl, I should say, to correct myself. So if you see another albino axolotl, you would see the difference between their hues of their skin. She is far more gold than an albino or a leucistic axolotl. So there she is. She has golden eyes as well. In real life, you can really see her golden eyes. But if you look at the video, I can see right there on the monitor that her eyes look pretty gold. She's over here begging for more snacks. It's going to work. I'm going to feed her some more. That's okay. If you forget my name, if you're new, that's totally fine. I'm so glad to have some new viewers. Make sure and help us out for free by subscribing and following our social media channels and places. That is a great free way to help us out. If you guys do want to help out our animals in our mobile zoo, we do need a lot of help. We rely on you guys to help keep us going. That could just be by viewing our videos and sharing them and liking and commenting and all the things. Yay for that. But also if you want to tip or donate to our zoo, our Venmo and Cash App are down below on most of our social media. And on Instagram, you can go to Cash App or Venmo, and that's at Once in a Wild. And you can actually donate an amount of your choosing if you like the show and you like Ghost and you want to help feed her and take care of all of our animals. We have so many animals. Another great way to help us out is by visiting our public events. If you happen to be right here in San Antonio, we've got a public event this weekend, Saturday and Sunday for Labor Day weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody, coming up. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, but we're supposed to be there, rain or shine. We're going to be at the historic market downtown. And if you need more information on the public events coming up, if you happen to be in person here in San Antonio, please visit onceinawild.com. We always post our public events and our virtual events on our homepage, onceinawild.com. But please, if you can, leave a tip, leave a donation. Those go a long way to help our animals. Every little bit counts. We even have a Amazon wish list over on our website. If you go to our website, you'll find our donation page too. And it's also linked in the description down below. Are there LGBTQ axolotl? I don't know. That's a great question. I imagine probably yes. It's pretty normal in the animal kingdom for there to be all sorts of different, happenings there. Yeah, but I don't really know. That's a good question. Now, as far as breeding, these guys do require male and female to have a fertilization to happen so they can have babies. But some amphibians can change their gender. That's a fun fact. So when there's a lot of pressure on a group of, like, say there's like only females. If you've ever seen Jurassic Park, you've heard this fact already. Some frogs and some animals in general, fish, things like that, they can, if they have like one gender in a group and they need another gender to make more babies, they will actually change their gender. Isn't that cool? Happens a lot. You're gonna watch me every day. Every day. We're not on every day. We're on every Wednesday. But there's plenty of videos to rewatch, and we have a lot of content across our social media as well. Yeah, there's a ton of videos on our YouTube, especially if you're on YouTube right now or wherever you are, banked up from long ago. Because we actually started live streaming. We were streaming 3 times a week when COVID happened. We were really restricted on how many like in-person programs we could do. We went to only virtual. So we had a lot of times, and we were a new company, brand new. We've only been around for a couple of years now, a few years. And we were really nervous about that because, like a lot of small businesses, we were super scared that we would have to maybe close. So we ended up going totally virtual. We had a lot of live streams 3 times a week. So, and then we started going to just Wednesdays. So, but long story short, you'll see a lot of videos that you can actually watch and enjoy. Here's a good question. Do they need toys and plants to stay happy? Yes and no. I think axolotls are pretty simple creatures. They don't necessarily need a ton of enrichment like other animals that are very, very intelligent. No offense to Ghost. But all animals benefit from some sort of enrichment in their enclosure, right? So having like a little bit of change every now and then. Our animals get a lot of change because they do travel. Most of our animals, like I mentioned, do some sort of outreach. So they're either going to do virtual programs like this, where they get to at least get out of their home every now and then. Again, if it's an animal that stresses out with that too much, because there are some of those that don't like to travel and leave their home bodies. We listen to them, and we don't do it as much, or we do it none. But our animals in particular, and outreach traveling animals, or even dogs that travel to different places, I think that they're more enriched than animals that just live at home all the time. So the animals that live at home all the time, if there are species that's appropriate for this, we would recommend enrichment. So enrichment can be toys or plants, change it up, mix it up, different food items, different treats, things like that. So that's what enrichment is. Good question. I think any animal can benefit from some sort of enrichment in their life. I'm just looking through the questions. You guys are fantastic. I love the question. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm sure there are some sort of LGBTQ. There's animals all over the globe that are like that. So I wouldn't be surprised. How far are you from me? I'm in, Sam is asking. I'm in San Antonio as well. We're in San Antonio too. So we can come out to your school or your birthday party or whatever you have. Not a problem. I'm going back up to see if I missed any questions. I bet I did. And if I do, I'm so sorry. I'm doing my very best. There's a lot of comments and questions tonight. A lot of new viewers, which is fantastic. We love getting new viewers. Do I have a favorite animal? Oh, that's a good question. I really don't have a favorite animal because I love all animals. And here at Once in a Wild, we actually believe that all animals are important. But everybody has their kind of like their favorites, if you will, their preferences, right? So my favorite animals overall, if I had to pick one type of animal to work with, it would be snakes. I really love snakes. Snakes are very easy to work with. They're easy to hold usually, unless you have a cranky one, which is super rare, honestly. Snakes don't go to the bathroom that often, and there's no claws to scratch you. They're very quiet. So they're super easy, and also I love them. I've always loved snakes since I was a little tiny thing. 2 years old is some of my first memories. 2, 3 to 5. Seeing snakes in the yard, catching them, things like that. I don't recommend catching snakes in your yard because you want to make sure to stay safe and that they stay safe too. But I didn't know any better back then. Now I do. I wouldn't let my kids personally do that. But snakes are some of my favorites. They're beautiful, different types of snakes, different colors. Snakes are extremely misunderstood. Some of my favorite animals to talk about in animal education programs is snakes, because a lot of people are scared of them. I would say at least a third of the overall population is at least a little bit nervous around snakes, and it's nothing wrong with respecting them. We just don't want you guys harming them or picking them up and, you getting harmed or something like that, right? But snakes are incredibly important to the natural environment. They control rodent populations and other populations of animals in general because they're predators, of course, and they're amazing. They are just my favorite. But I also really love birds as well. Birds in general. If I could work with, let's just say, top 5 animals: snakes, birds of prey. So like owls. We have an owl here once in a while. His name is Rango. He was on the news today. Oh my gosh. I like strange and unusual mammals, like, for example, anteaters, armadillos, babirusa are another really cool. It's a type of pig. I like weird animals. What else? Snakes, birds of prey, weird mammals. I like porcupines for weird mammals too. What else, Ghost? I like axolotls. They're one of my favorites too. There's so many. Birds of prey, snakes. I also like weird birds too. So, for example, I've worked with things like miniature toucans. They're called ericeres. Ericeres are like small toucans. Those guys are great. I've worked with cassowaries. I've worked with, it's a type of bird. I've worked with cranes. Cranes are really fun to work with. Hornbills are really cool too. What else have I worked with? We here once in a while, our birds. We've got an owl. We've got ducks. We've got cockatiels, doves, and a budgie. And stay tuned for more birds. We might be getting some more birds soon too. So our collection's always growing. Where we get our animals, a lot of people do ask us where the heck we get our animals. Everybody has their own story. So Ghost, actually, we purchased a while back before Once in a Wild even opened up. She was one of our personal animals, like kind of like a pet. And we got her from a breeder. So very healthy, very reputable breeder. She wasn't expensive, very easy to keep. It was awesome. But a lot of our animals are actually rehomed to us, especially since we opened officially Once in a Wild, right? People hear about you, they call you or text you or email you and say, hey, I've got this XYZ exotic animal. Do you know if you could adopt them? Or maybe you can help me find a home for them. The answer is always yes, I will try to help you find a home for them. We actually do help a lot of people find homes for their animal. So if you ever have an exotic animal, or any animal for that matter, and you just need advice or help, I do not mind helping. Maybe they don't come live with us, because when we adopt an animal, it never leaves. It has a forever home with us. So we take it very, very seriously, the animals that we do adopt. When we do decide to take them in, they're not going to be adopted out again. But we can also ask our community. We have a big community of peers and other keepers and other professionals, all kinds of people that love animals and are good with animals and are responsible. So we can usually help you find a home for them, whether it be with us or otherwise. But I have a lot of favorites, if you can't note it. I used to work with horses as well. I really love horses. I worked with a lot of different types of animals in my career. Blood-sucking bats? No. Vampire squids? No. Do I have dogs? Yes, we do, but they're not part of Once in a Wild. We have 3 dogs. Oh, so you like snakes too, Gaia Gamers. That's pretty cool. Let me see. All right. Yes, there's a lot of axolotl stuffed animals and things out there. Very popular right now. I'm going to check with Instagram and see what you guys have to say. Hello, Viviana, once again. If you're still there, hello. If not, that's okay. You're here all the time. No questions on Instagram, just little comments and compliments, which is fine. Let me know what else you would like to know about the axolotl. Now, one of my favorite things about the axolotl is their superpower. So they actually have the ability to regenerate their limbs and other body parts. So an axolotl, if they get injured in the wild and say they their arm comes off, maybe a predator tries to eat them and only gets an arm, their arm will actually completely regenerate and actually grow back 100% the way it was before. Now, have you ever heard of a lizard losing their tail, or like a section of their tail? Uh-oh, I forgot to hide this comment. There we go. So you guys can see everything. It was a good question, though. So have you ever heard of like a lizard losing their tail? So lizards sometimes can drop their tail if they feel threatened, or if a predator grabs them by the tail, they can actually lose their tail. It drops right off. With a lizard, it's called tail autotomy. That means that the little segments, the spinal sections of the tail can snap right off, and then they grow back eventually. Now, on a lizard, it doesn't grow back the same way as it used to be. It's going to look kind of funky looking most of the time. It's certainly going to look different than it did before, at least smoother, different colors sometimes, etc., etc. Sometimes it looks totally wacky. And that regeneration process will take months and months. So our tegu, we have a Colombian black and white tegu. Her name is Lulu, the tegu. Lulu actually lost her tail before we adopted her. She had a lost tail, and she regenerated her tail over about 6 to 8 months. That's how long it took to just regenerate a tail. An axolotl can lose half their head. They can lose a whole arm. They can lose a gill, of course. They can lose a tail, whatever. And all of that will regenerate in a matter of weeks. Just weeks. It will regrow. Can you believe that? They can regenerate their organs. They get a chunk bitten out of the side of them. They can just regenerate it. So for that reason, axolotls have actually been in human care in scientific study for a long time. So these guys have been studied by scientists to see if we can apply regenerative abilities to humans or pets or other animals, right? That would be really, really handy if we didn't have to get organs from other people's bodies anymore, things like that. We wouldn't have to wait for an organ donor or a match. Also, these guys heal from cancer. They don't get cancer. If they get cancer, it just heals immediately. So they're super duper amazing that way. Very healthy animals as long as their environment is healthy, which is where they're suffering right now in the wild. So for tonight, we're only going to be talking about the axolotls, but of course, most of the time on our show, we bring all sorts of different animals. And for the in-person animal encounters, you can choose from our entire list of animals. You can mix and match, choose the animals that you want to see. We can certainly recommend animals to you depending on your situation and which animals work best. But yes, when you book an animal encounter, whether it be virtual, just like you see here, this will be like kind of how your virtual encounter will look. You get to pick. We start with 5 animal choices. You can build up from there, just add a little bit more cost. And you get to pick, mix and match, whatever. We can only talk about axolotls if you want. We can talk about snakes. We can talk about all sorts of animals, mix and match. You get to choose from our list. And same thing for an in-person animal encounter, whether it be a show and tell or a meet and greet or whatever you're doing. You get to pick the animals. Now, some of the animal encounters that don't allow for mix and match, if you will, or you just select the animal, is going to be like a petting zoo or a animal therapy session. We're going to basically bring the animals that make sense for that encounter, because not every animal, axolotl is one of them, you can like pick up and touch. Obviously, there's other choices. For example, a ball python. You can pick up a ball python or a corn snake or a king snake and hold them and touch them. So if you like something you can touch, those are better choices. But we also have a rabbit, we've got guinea pigs, we've got all kinds of animals that you can touch. A favorite book? That's a good question. I really don't have a favorite book. I actually did but I really like, my favorite types of books are fiction, and I really like fantasy or science fiction. So for example, I'm a Harry Potter person. I like Harry Potter. They're not my favorite of all the books. My favorite book in the Harry Potter series is number 3, The Prisoner of Azkaban. That's my favorite one. But I like all sorts of fantasy. I'm more of a movie person than a book person, although I used to read all the time. But I do have a live stream where we talked about my top 10 animal movies of all time, where there was live action animals used in the movie. So if you want to check out that old live stream, that's actually on one of our playlists, but it's definitely on the YouTube channel. You can check that out. Live animal feedings are always fun. Sometimes we do snake feedings here on the channel too. And sometimes other animals eat too. They might just be eating little snacks and things like that. We've had our opossum on here eating. We've had guinea pigs eating, bearded dragons, all sorts of animals. Do humans have arm or leg autotomy? I wish. Thanks for being here, Steve. Nice to see you. Happy late birthday, by the way. I'm sorry I missed it. My birthday's coming up too. Oh my gosh, we're all getting old. Mine's coming up in September, but happy late birthday, Steve. But no, we don't. We cannot regenerate our limbs. I wish we could. We'd be like Deadpool, right? Without the cancer aspect. So it's kind of like the axolotl, right? They can regenerate half their head. Believe it or not, yes. The eyeball will grow back. The brain everything, and it'll look just the same as it did before. It's not going to look injured at all. It's actually going to be like nothing ever happened. Isn't that amazing? This is my face for that comment. 2-1. There's no way. Me too. I'm turning 21 as well. Yeah, normally I do have extra species. To be very honest, I had an extremely busy day. We actually were on the local news today on the live news. We did 2 segments with a midday news channel called SA Live. It was a lot of fun. And we brought 6 animals to the news. We did 3 animals in a segment, and then we had 3 animals in another segment. So I'm honestly super tired, but it's okay. But we actually advertised this as a axolotl live stream. So we decided to just do axolotls tonight. But sometimes we do have multiple animals. I used to always bring 3. Actually, I started bringing 5 in the first few live streams, I think. It was 5 or 3. But then I would just do 3 every time. And now it's just like, whatever happens is fine. We're super busy now, which is fantastic. When we first started, we weren't busy. So I was able to do a lot more with the live stream. But trust me, there's a ton of videos for you guys to watch that already happened. You held a giant snake at a reptile show and it was curled up. That's pretty cool. I love snakes. My favorite types of snakes are actually colubrids, which are like rat snakes, king snakes, hognose snakes, indigo snake, all those guys. I'm not a huge constrictor person, but I like constrictors too, like boas and python. But I like all the rest of the snakes a little bit better. They're my favorite. There's a lot of variety in there. Yes, they can regenerate their brain. You are right. Can axolotls eat lizards? If a lizard gets too close to the water, certainly. If it's a smaller lizard, if I gave her a lizard, she would definitely eat it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give her a worm. Come here, ghost. Don't eat the plant. Eat the worm. So sometimes she gets confused and actually eats the plastic plant on accident, and then she just spits it out because she realizes it's not food. But, yeah, I mean, anything that gets too close to that mouth is going to be gulped right in. They're not picky. In fact, they'll eat each other. So I mentioned before, if a young axolotl swims too closely to an older axolotl that can eat it, they're gonna eat it. And they might even try to eat a big axolotl too, and maybe they'll just get an arm. But don't worry, it grows back anyway, right? The best animal to have that happen to. So we are based in San Antonio, Texas, which is South Texas. If you're in Montana, it's pretty far. Texas is huge, so just Texas can put a lot of space in between us and other states. Do I have a tiny snake? I do have several tiny snakes. We've got some baby snakes. Our smallest species is the Kenyan sand boa. I've got a Kenyan sand boa named Spot because he's covered in spots. And I've got a few baby snakes like our Dominican red mountain boa. She's still pretty small. Who else is small? I've got a couple of Baird's rat snakes that are getting bigger, but they're still relatively small. But the tiniest species is the Kenyan sand boa, and Spot is still pretty little. Spot is actually a rehomed snake to us, and I believe Spot was a little bit stunted, but it's okay. He's doing fine. And also a male Kenyan sand boas are really tiny. Well, that's cool. So sometimes when movies actually study real life animals, I think that makes for a much better end product, right? So when The Lion King came out way back in 1994, when I was little, in 94, I was in 4th grade or 3rd grade. I can't remember when it came out exactly, what grade I was in. But in 1994, when The Lion King came out, all of the animators and the producers of the show, they actually did a African safari out to where those animals live. So like lions and zebras and hyenas and all the things that are in The Lion King. There's a lot of animals. One of my favorite animations of all time, by the way. They actually went out and studied those animals to see their colors, movement. A lot of it's stylized, obviously, because it's an animated movie. It's a cartoon. But they actually did study the movement, the look of the animals. Pretty awesome. Love that. I'm a huge movie person. So some of my passions in life, animals, obviously, but also I love films and I love music as well. What are some of you guys' favorite animal movies out there? You guys like animal movies? So we did a whole live stream, like I mentioned before, on my top 10, plus a few honorable mentions as well that I talked about too, of live action animal movies. I went into a lot of detail about why I like them. And I'm the type of person that doesn't really enjoy CGI too much in the animals, but I understand when we have to use CGI in animation, that's okay. But it needs to be accurate because we can do it. It's been done in a lot of movies. But we were talking about live action, or mostly live action animal movies. Maybe I'll do another movie top 10. Would you guys like to see that? Maybe about animation. That would be fun. Or books. We could talk about animal books too. There's a lot of those. Okay, you guys have been fantastic tonight. I'm so very happy to see a lot of comments and questions. That's CGI, so like computer generated effects. Yes. CGI. So like, for example, it's a good example. Well, the new Lion King animation, that's supposed to be live action, but it's CGI. It's not real animals. Hate to break it to you. Spoiler alert. Anything else you would like to know about ghosts? We're probably going to wrap it up here in a little bit. I can maybe bring Gremlin on another live stream sometime soon. Please follow us on our social media, you guys, if you haven't already. Come here, Ghost. If you haven't already, please check out all of our social medias. You can see us over on Twitter, on Instagram, we're on Twitch, we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and all the things. TikTok as well. We're on TikTok too. We don't go live on TikTok too often. I do need to do that more often though. What should I do over on TikTok live? Maybe we'll do something different. Would you guys like to see some behind the scenes stuff? So what would you guys like to see on another show, since I have quite a big audience tonight? Would you guys like to see more species-specific live streams like this? Would you like to see like 3 to 5 animals in a live stream and we just go through them really fast? Today I just got super busy, so we kept it a little simpler. Also, setting up the water enclosure is a lot longer of a setup than just dry animals, if you will. Most of the time I do hold the animals and show them to the camera and things like that. She has to be in the water. But the nice thing about the axolotl being on the live stream is they get to be out the whole time, and I don't have to worry about holding her. She's like on display the whole time. He or she, depending on who's here. Yes. Do I have a favorite song? No way. There's no such thing as a favorite song. There's so many songs. The axolotl, she came from a breeder. So she actually was bred in human care. We got her in Dallas, but I don't remember where the breeder was from. So sometimes you can go to a reptile convention or show. I think somebody mentioned they actually had been to a reptile convention where there's lots and lots of breeders and different reptile experts and things like that, or amphibian or spider or scorpion experts. All sorts of people come to reptile shows. That's where we got her. We got her at one of our favorite reptile conventions over in the Dallas area. So if I drop the worm, she may not see it, but that's why I just tongue feed her, or feed her with these, right? Feed her with the, what are these? Tongs? That's why we feed her this way. That way she doesn't lose the worm, and then the worm doesn't get wasted, right? There you go. And she pretty much eats it right away. Now, if I did drop some in her main habitat behind the scenes, she would probably find them eventually. We actually don't keep any substrate in our axolotls because it's a lot easier to keep clean. We just keep them bare bottom, bare glass. That way they can find tidbits of their food. They get a sinking carnivore pellet. So we put the food in there, it goes to the bottom, and they just eat it like a little vacuum cleaner. Yeah, so that's why. No big deal. Okay, you guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing Ghost. Next time, we will probably have multiple animals on the show. The last 2 shows, let's see. Last week, I had multiple animals. I'm trying to remember what they were. But the week before that, I just had the owl. If you want to learn about an owl, he was on the a couple weeks ago. But the owl live stream that I did a couple of weeks ago anyway, the most recent owl live stream, I was talking about some frequently asked questions about our company and other things like that. We have a lot of frequently asked questions that I addressed over there. My birthday's on September the 16th. Yes, indeed. Okay, you guys. Well, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining us for our live stream. If you would like to help us out, please consider booking your own private animal encounter or virtual encounter. pardon me, or consider having us visit your classroom or homeschool group or anything at all, or birthday party, anything at all. That helps us out quite a bit, and you also get something in return with your own experience. Also consider, if you happen to be in town, visiting us at our public events. We've got a couple of days where we're going to be for free, by the way. It's going to be a public event for Labor Day weekend here in downtown San Antonio. If you want more information about that particular event, visit onceinawild.com or any of our social media. We have some of the details of the event. They're actually going to be at the historic Market Square, and we're going to be there from 11 to 2 o'clock. So kind of like midday. We're hoping the weather's going to cooperate, but if it doesn't, we're still going to be there, and we're going to be undercover if it rains, because it looks like rain this weekend, which is a blessing because we've needed rain for a while. Here in South Texas, we've been in a drought up until a couple weeks ago. So it is what it is. But if you guys want to visit us out there, it is free, but you're definitely free to leave a tip or a donation to our zoo. Every little bit goes to the animals, and every little bit helps, of course. We also have an Amazon wish list on our website, onceinawild.com. You can find our animal wish list. And we also have several ways for you guys to donate a amount of your choosing, which could be things like Venmo or Cash App. And we even have PayPal too. Those are at onceinawild, all one word. And make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube and share the videos, like the videos, comment, all the things. We always try to answer the comments and address everything that we can, as long as we have time. And make sure and check it all out. I think Ghost would like another worm to go. Worm to go? Oh, yeah. Here it. Oh, you missed. See, they sometimes miss. Axolotls are not the best at catching their food sometimes, but there we go. We give her a second chance as well. You want to see more axolotls? We only have 2. Maybe next time we will have Gremlin instead of Ghost. So if you missed the last live streams, don't worry. We have, they're over on our YouTube. There's so many of them. Just go to our YouTube and you'll see all the videos. Just go to the content or go to the videos. There's like a whole bunch of them. Over 150, I think, at this point. Okay, you guys. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to go ahead and close. Thank you so very much. Make sure and watch our older videos too. Like them, leave some comments, all the things. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys. We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I want to hear you say once in a while. And that's the fun for me and you. Alrighty, we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place, across social media on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great week, and we'll see you later. Bye!